If you feel the call to travel with purpose, the interest lists for my upcoming Sacred Journeys 2026 are officially open, and I would love to welcome you into the field. In May, the south of France and Mary Magdalene landscapes are waiting for you. Roseline frequencies and soft initiations through beauty, devotion, and light. In October, journey with me to Crete, ancient temples, the bees of the goddess, and the land that remembers your original rhythm and the pulse of creation. And in November, December, a temple journey through Egypt is waiting. Nile transmission and deep remembrance with ancient body technologies of the land. If your body just leaned in, if your heart skipped a beat, or if one of these lands has been whispering your name, then this is your sign. Join the interest links via the links below and receive early access, behind-the-scenes transmissions, and first invitations when all dates, itineraries, and portals open. And if this podcast nourishes you, subscribe and share it with a fellow sacred traveler, and stay close to the journeys that are unfolding. Welcome, Sacred Travel friends. I am very excited myself about today's conversation. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and imagine yourself in a cozy coffee shop setting as we sit down with my special guest, Hayleigh Hayhurst, today. She's the founder of Espresso Podcast Production and also host of two podcasts, Espresso Podcast Cafe and Employee to Boss. And I have personally worked with Hayleigh, and I'm a huge fan of her guidance when it comes to strategic podcasting, so definitely go check her out. Welcome, Hayleigh.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm ready with my coffee. I'm excited for this conversation.
Well, for me, it's actually a little late for coffee, but I'll have my tea.
Perfect.
So yeah, welcome. I'm also excited. And, it's a conversation that I feel we have never really touched on so far, because you play in the field of entrepreneurship and business growth and in a setting called the Podcast Cafe. So I'm curious, what made you choose the setting for your podcast, and how does the setting inspire meaningful conversations?
That's such a good question. So I started Podcast Cafe, I want to say a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I had started podcasts before. It's what I do for my business, is I help other people start podcasts. But me starting my own podcast is a different vibe, of course. It's what I tell all my clients to do, but being in the seat of having to do it is a little bit different. It's you feel what your clients feel, right? And so when I was thinking of the container or the listener experience and the guest experience, I really love just the thought of coming together, having coffee, and just talking about whatever it is. I'm based in Seattle. We have a huge coffee culture here. Great coffee. And when I was starting my business too, I wanted to tie in that to it. So Espresso Podcast Production was born because of my love of coffee and just having moved to Seattle. But yeah, I go networking all the time. I meet a ton of people here in the local area. And my favorite thing to do with people is to go have a coffee chat. So obviously my podcast is done all virtually, just like this. But I still didn't want to lose that intimate feel of sitting down in a coffee shop and just talking about podcasts.
That is so amazing. And, I have been fortunate to be on your show as well. And you do that so well and really it's a casual atmosphere whilst you really feel you're sitting down with a good friend having an intimate, deep talk. So I love the whole setting. And you also bringing together your two passions of coffee and podcasting. I mean, what better, way to live and make a living as well, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So you said it yourself, you're from Seattle, so you're a local. And, it's actually funny because when I think of Seattle, and I've never been there, but what comes to mind is the Denali vampires from Twilight. I don't know if you've read the books, but like when I was sitting down to prepare, I'm like, what do I actually connect with Seattle?
No, that's so fair. That was actually the movies were filmed in an area called Forks, which is not too far away from me. It's maybe like an hour and a half. And my sister's a huge Twilight fan, so we drove over to Forks and went on like the little tour. It's very cute because the entire town has really taken over the Twilight memorabilia. It's Twilight is everywhere. They have a museum, everything. So I love that's what you connect with Seattle.
And, you know, just like what you're saying right now, because when I was connecting, I really felt that without ever having been there, right? It's that mystical, but also sacred touch where kind of like modern and indigenous culture or life
Yeah.
converges. So I love that you that you kind of like confirm it right now in a way. But what did you sense growing up there, and what's your connection to your hometown and the surrounding landscape?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually grew up in Las Vegas and moved to
Oh,
Seattle
okay.
5 years ago, which is very different from. I always think, what would it be like growing up somewhere that's not the desert and not hot? And Las Vegas, has a reputation for not being kid friendly. And I always wonder what it would be like growing up somewhere that had hikes and had outdoors and like was more kid friendly. But it's Las Vegas and Seattle are very different places, and I love Las Vegas, but I do feel more comfortable here in Seattle. It's just the vibe I like, the nature is everywhere. Las Vegas has mountains surrounding it, which I think is beautiful, but I've never been somewhere that's been so green like here in Seattle. Currently, I live by the Puget Sound, so I live on the beach. It's not really the beach, but so every day I walk down there with my dog, and it's very grounding. Last week, we saw orcas when I was on my morning walk,
Oh,
which was, like, so
beautiful.
magical. So, it's just yeah, I always do wonder what it would be like growing up somewhere like this, and I feel like I wouldn't appreciate it as much as I do having moved here as an adult. But, yeah, Las Vegas is a fun place. The people there are very nice. There's a lot to do. People are a lot friendlier than here in Seattle, but it's still I don't know. I feel at home in both places, if that makes sense.
It does, I guess. Yeah, it does. And then you get to pick the best out of both places, right?
Exactly. All of my family is still in Las Vegas, but they come up here to visit me or I go back there, and I'm always grateful that I get to go home and visit somewhere fun. It's not like the middle of nowhere, it's like a vibrant city with things to do and things to see and tons of people, and yeah, I love it.
It's funny that you're bringing that up, and I would love to explore that a little bit further with you because, you know, I would say, like, in general, probably when Las Vegas pops up, it's it might not be the first thing where you feel like, oh, it's a spiritual place. Whereas, like, the country or the land itself, I feel,
Yeah,
is very powerful. So
that's
what's your
true.
take on that?
That's a really good question. I mean, I feel like growing up in Las Vegas and having that experience, I see the beauty in it. I think
Mm.
it is a beautiful city full of very passionate people who are doing what they love, and most of them have very social jobs. Hospitality is a huge industry there. It's like the biggest thing. And I think that is where I feel like the spirit of everyone, like people putting their hearts into the restaurants they're making or the details in the hotels, or even, I mean, that's just the strip. There's hikes that you can do outside of the city. There's hot springs, which I think are very cool. Like a little hot spring hike. You can hike into Arizona. I've done that a few times. It's As someone who's, like, a tourist there, like, just visiting for, like, a weekend or something, I feel like you're gonna feel from what I've heard, it's very overwhelming with like the slot machine noises and the smoke and the cigarettes and everything. But I think when you are living there, obviously you don't go down on the strip very
Mhm.
often. And there's
Yeah,
actually really cool places to see all around and cool people to meet.
I love that. That sounds like a very, like a city of manifestation and just like where you can really live your dreams in a way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. But whenever I go home, I do play slot machines. I love a good slot machine. I never win, but
That's so funny.
one day I'm manifesting a big win.
Okay, well, who knows? The year of the fire horse, prosperity is coming along.
Yes,
So
let's go. Let's go.
I love that. How would you say that travel or maybe even the move to Seattle has
Yeah.
shaped the way that you approach business and your creativity? How does that affect it?
Oh, yeah. So, my first experience with travel was going to the beach with my mom and my sister, and we would just go down to Laguna Beach in California, and that was, like, our main travel. One time we went to Yellowstone. It was all, like, very near us. It was like road trips. The first time I actually got on a plane other than with my family was to go study abroad, and I went to Prague. And this was my first time traveling alone, studying alone, being out of the country. I had never been out of the country before then.
Mm.
I didn't know a single person that was going. It was just like me and this program and students from all over the US meeting and going and living there for, I don't know, 5 months or something like that. So that was it was a very ambitious first time, first travel. But I was really shy before then. This was my junior year of college, I think. I was pretty shy. I had a hard time speaking up for myself. I had friends, but I didn't have a big group of friends. I had like close-knit friends. And studying abroad really helped me get out of my shell. And there was a moment when I was there where I was thinking, oh my God, if I want to go travel to these other countries, if I want to have a fun 5 months, if I want to meet people, I'm gonna have to talk to people and like be social and outgoing. And throughout my 5 months there, like it changed me in a lot of different ways. And one of those ways is now I could talk to anyone and I could talk to anyone anywhere. And
Yay.
I don't know if that was necessarily the place I was going to, Prague, or if that was just being alone and traveling and being out of my comfort zone. But that was a huge shift that I had. So when I think about business, I mean, the skills obviously talking is my whole business, networking and
Mhm.
talking to other people. I always make connections with everyone I meet. And I think the success of my business is definitely rooted in me getting out of my own comfort zone years ago in Prague. And I mean, being there is amazing. It was hard though because obviously I don't know Czech very well. And we did like a 2-week crash course when we were there. So really a lot of people did speak English, but it was I was like, if I want to have the best time of my life here, I'm gonna have to talk to the people in the classes with me and get out of my comfort zone. So yeah, I think that is like the basis of my business success, even though at the time I didn't know that's what it would lead to.
And that is such a great reflection because every time, we travel to a place or we go somewhere, and as you said, like traveling doesn't have to be super far, but there is a skill or there's a gift that's going to
Yeah,
be unlocked.
exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I think it's different traveling by myself than it is traveling with family or friends. I feel like when I do that, while I might have a better time sometimes, I definitely don't meet as many people as I do when I'm traveling by myself. So I just went to Greece this summer and I was there for 14 days alone and I met tons of people. But before that, I was in Italy with some friends and I didn't meet anyone because I was with my friends, you know? So it's just putting yourself out there, I think, for me, is easier when I'm by myself.
That's a great segue because I wanted to touch on that as well. Because I know that last year you did this big trip that felt quite transformational. So I
Mhm.
would love to know, what was your intention for this journey in the first place, and what was the gift that you received now looking back?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was invited to my friend's wedding in Italy. And in my head, I was like, well, I can be in Europe for however long I want because I run my own business. I work with everyone virtually. I might have to work while I'm there, and I did, but it's not like I have to be in an office somewhere. I'm also 28 years old and I'm single and I have no kids. So I was like, this is probably
Freedom!
the best time of my life to run away for a European summer, right? And so that was kind of the thought process there. And it did take some work doing like getting ahead of work in my business. Thankfully, my clients are all amazing. And I was like, hey, I'm doing this. And they were like, amazing, like have so much fun. And they got me their episodes ahead of time. But like basically, long story short, that was that was what made me wanna do this, is just the freedom. And I don't know, after this, I read this book called Die with Zero. Have you ever read it?
No.
Okay, so it's this idea that we're, like, working for money, and at a certain point, like, we have to spend it all, and then we should try to die with $0 left, because if we die with
Whoa, I'm getting
thousands of dollars left.
goosebumps.
I know, right? It's like I just finished this book this morning, it's so good. But if we die with $100,000, that's so much time we spent working that we could have spent living life, right?
Yeah.
And what he talks about in the book is we have to do certain things at certain times of our life, you know? When I'm 70, I'm probably not gonna be able to hike a volcano in
Mm.
Guatemala with my sister, but I did that a few years ago, and yeah, it's just this thought that money always comes back and our time doesn't. And so, yeah, just being single and no kids, I was like, well, if I'm ever going to do this, I don't know if I'll ever have kids, but if I'm ever going to do this, like it has to be now. So that was that was what pushed me to do it. And it was transformational.
And what would you say now that you have returned that stuck with you? What was the transformation that happened?
Yeah. I work really hard. I do. And I think being in different countries for 5 weeks and not working as hard, I had one of my biggest months of 2025 while I
Ooh.
was there, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" Right? I wasn't working that hard, and I was thinking about, like, the dark side of entrepreneurship, right? The side where I work late at night and work stress all day over something, or, push myself to do things I don't really want to do, and I wasn't doing that when I was there. And it was kind of eye-opening where, do I really need to be stressed out? Do I really need to be whatever? Do I need to work this hard? And I'm just like have always been a hard worker ever since I was young. But seeing that I could still be successful without ripping my hair out on a daily basis was really transformational. And yeah, I think it's given me time to reflect and just say, like, does this really matter? Is this something that's going to help me? Like creating YouTube videos, for instance. I post my podcast on YouTube, but I wanted to do a YouTube series of this is how you start your podcast. This is like step one, step two. I was like, do I really want to do that? I don't.
Mm.
I don't. And so I think it's helped me see what I think I should do, like should, and what I actually want to do and find the middle ground in that.
Yeah, I would call it alignment.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly. Exactly. I have a friend, she's in a group program with me, and she just moved to Portugal. And her 2026 resolution was to become more European in her mindset of, that's like her big goal. She's like, "I've moved to this country. It's my goal to become more European." And I like that. I mean, I get what she means of not, I don't know, just the way of acting and being, and the work culture is so different.
I want to make a little disclaimer because all the countries that you mentioned, I mean, although they are part of Europe, but like with my, Germanic background and heritage, every time I go to the south of Europe, I also feel like, oh, I want to be a little more like them and less like.
That's
so,
so funny.
so even within Europe, there's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean, same
love
with
that you bring that
America.
up.
Same with
Yeah.
America. I can go down to, the other side of the States, and it is a fully different vibe than, I mean, even like LA and or LA and Vegas is like very, very fast paced. And I moved up here and everyone's so slow. And I'm like, where is the urgency? And that took some getting used to. But I like it. Slow pace of life.
But I guess it's also healthy. And what you're describing, I feel it's very much also coming more into that feminine awareness of how we can run a business without burning out. So it's that healthy way or that healthy intelligence inside of you that also like raises the red flag and saying, hey, like stop it.
Hmm.
This is not going to bring us or take us anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Have you ever felt called to a place and you couldn't fully explain why? Not because it's trending or beautiful, but because something deep inside recognizes and remembers that place. I have seen that again and again, not just with clients, but also myself. Sometimes, and some people feel called to temples, others to wild coastlines, while others feel drawn to Magdalene lands or even the desert. And this is not random. Your soul travels in a specific way. And that is why I created the Sacred Travel Quiz. It reveals how your energy moves when you journey and why certain places expand you more than others. Because when you understand your way of traveling, you stop comparing and you stop forcing, and you can start to really drop into that experience that are truly meant for you to retrieve codes for your soul's evolution. And sometimes that clarity naturally opens doors to sacred travel journeys like the ones that I'm offering this year to France, Egypt, or Crete, or wherever your soul is already whispering. If you feel that quiet pull towards somewhere, begin with the quiz. Let it show you how your soul moves. You'll find the link below. So moving a little bit from the outer journeys into the inner journeys, was there any inner journey that you had to take before your business could expand?
Yes. And I'm currently on one, honestly. I can kind of share a little bit about that. Last year, I'm very blessed. My business is doing really well, and I have a lot of clients who are doing such amazing things. And last year, or 2024, I was at the point where I was editing podcasts all day long. And it was hard because that's obviously what I set out to do in my business, was to produce podcasts and help people with their podcast production. But I was getting so many inquiries that I was having to put people on wait lists, or honestly, what I will always do is just say yes and then stress out later about it. And so it's, just what we
I
do
know this
over
one.
here. And so I was saying yes and yes. And I was looking at my calendar and I was like editing podcasts for hours each week, like way too many hours. And I had no time to grow my business, which I then realized is what I wanted to do, was to have a bigger business. And so I hired an editor to help me with like the back end stuff. And I was doing still a lot of, she was doing the first edits. I was checking her work, writing show notes, creating clips, posting it. I was still doing so much. And then the middle of last year, I was like, all right, well, I'm still going to do the quality control, but can you do more? Can you help me with more things? And I was so resistant to hiring help, because
Yes.
I was like, my clients are hiring me for what I do because they like me. And while they are, if I train someone, they would like them too, which was a
Yeah.
huge thing for me to get over.
Yeah.
And now in my business, I lucky where I hired help and now I'm like maxed out again or almost maxed out. I'm like I'm back where I was and I feel really grateful for the clients I have, the work I have. But I'm at the point where I need to hire again and someone who's doing more than just editing, right? I need to hire like another producer so I can keep stepping up in my business. And it's really hard. It's really hard to get to the point where I want to spend the money to hire and explain to my clients what's going on. And I always worry what they're going to think. And I think they'd be excited. And honestly, I don't think they would care as long as their episodes are being done well. But it's it's a mindset shift for sure. It's hard.
That sounds very big. And, again, like just taking into consideration the times that we're in, I feel it's so appropriate because everything is a mirror, right? So what you're going through on that level is definitely also a mirror of the collective energies. What are your personal techniques to deal with the fears, the doubts, the hesitations, the inner
Yeah.
critic?
Yeah. So I have a money mindset coach. She's like a business coach, money mindset coach. Her name is Jillian Mentor. I joined her group program and she's been making me realize some of these blocks that I have. It's been helpful. Sometimes I'm like, Jillian, please. Very helpful. And I think just realizing the why I do things is very helpful and having that support and having someone to talk to. One of the things she always talks about is if you are doubting something or, you know, wishing you had something, find evidence of other people having it and see that it can be done. So I've been doing a lot of that where I meet someone with an agency, which is what I have and what I'm trying to grow. And I see them being the CEO of their company and having like 5 employees and happy clients and making tons of money. I see people who are women in similar industries to me making a lot of money and not working 24/7. And so I've been just looking for this evidence more and more recently, and that has brought some comfort to me.
It's, I want to say, like, again, the mirror of the outer guidance that then, like, brings alive what's already inside.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So, putting the hard hustle and work aside, where do you go to wind down and relax? What's your favorite
Mm.
place?
The beach.
Beach.
I love it's called Alki Beach. It's beautiful. As you can see the city, you can see the islands around Seattle. I absolutely love it. In the winter, it's amazing. I live here year round, but in the winter, it's so quiet. And on like a sunny day like it is today, people come from all over to come see the beach. So I feel very blessed that I'm like down here already. But on a rainy day, which it rains a lot here, I can walk down there and there's like no one there. And that's very peaceful. I love a rainy beach day. In the summer, it's hundreds and hundreds of people, probably more come. I don't know, it's such a relaxing vibe, like hearing the waves and yeah, it's beautiful. So I love to go here. Other than that, I find a lot of comfort with friends. I don't have any family here in Seattle, so my friends are like family to me. So I go and hang out with them and whatever it is, whatever we end up doing, like that brings me a lot of joy too. So I think if I'm looking for some alone time or sometimes my friends come to the beach too, but that's more like in nature. But I'm a very social person. So I find a lot of comfort and recharge by being around people. So I am picky with like who I like to hang out with, but I I always want to make sure that I feel like good after. And so I would say those are the two places I run to when I need a little recharge or to play or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it's also very important to know where
Mhm.
these spots are for you, like the
Yeah.
energy power station.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you on your travel list?
Oh my gosh. I, like I think everyone else in the US, wants to go to Puerto Rico right now because, Bad Bunny just performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, and he makes Puerto Rico seem so fun, and I love a beach vacation, so that's on my travel list. I wanna visit more cities in the US this year. I'm thinking Detroit and Chicago are gonna be the 2 that I make it to. But beyond that, I have such, like, I've only been to Central America, I've never been to South America, and I'm obsessed with Central America. It is beautiful, and the people there are so nice, and yeah, I've been to Costa Rica and Guatemala, and I loved both of my trips there. So I think I wanna, like, venture down into South America this year, maybe Brazil. I don't know yet, but somewhere over there is where my that's on my list, and I don't know if I'll do big travel this year just because last year I did so much, but maybe. What's on your list?
Oh, on my list, thanks for asking. I mean, personally, we are invited to a wedding in Spain, the 1st of
Good.
May. So, and I actually thought that I would have maybe some time to travel around there, but we'll see if that happens. And then I have 3 trips coming up, like sacred travel trips to France, to Egypt and Crete. And the rest is not really planned out yet because also we have we have received a new assignment that is called Find a New Home. So we are that
Oh my
has
gosh.
priority right now.
Yeah. Are you gonna stay in the same area that you're in or move
We
somewhere
don't
else?
know. So for sure we stay in Switzerland, but
Mhm.
we don't know if it's going to be the same area or somewhere else. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
good luck. Moving is a headache. I wish you luck with that.
Thank you. So what made you move from Las Vegas to Seattle in the first place?
Yeah. I had graduated college December 2019, and the pandemic started a few months later, and I was laid off of my job, and I this is, like, so funny. I ordered this gigantic bean bag from Amazon that was delivered, and I didn't think it was gonna be this big, but I took it out of the box, and it kept growing, and it took up, like, my whole room, and I was laying on this one day because there was nothing else to do. I was living with my mom, and I was like, "This is not what I had in mind for my post-grad life." Honestly, this is the last thing I had in mind. And I had a friend up here in Seattle. We met freshman year of high school, and we were friends all through high school. She went up to college here in Seattle, and somehow she convinced me to move up here. I had planned on actually joining the Peace Corps. That was my plan that I
Oh,
had,
wow.
but with the pandemic, that was paused and then never happened, which I think is okay. Like, I like where my life went like, as a I was going to go to Cambodia for I think it was 2 years, which would have been amazing, but I also like the direction that my life went. So, when I moved up to Seattle, I thought I'd only be here for, like, 6 months until I went to Cambodia, but that never happened, and I'm still here in Seattle, and I love it here, and I think this is where I'm definitely meant to be. But yeah, I moved here just because I thought it'd be short term and I wanted something new, but now it's
It
long term, so
it just also made me think how the about the importance of community. And I know that you do a lot of like networking events or you go to networking events. How would you say has specifically for what you do and in your business, how important is the power of community?
oh my gosh, community is everything to me. I yeah, I mean, here in Seattle, like I said, my friends are my community. I know everyone that lives in this building, so they're my community. Where I live is a little community, so I know a lot of people over here. And then networking, I go to a ton of networking events and I go over and over again. So I'm building community there. I'm building community through my 2 podcasts, Employee to Boss and Podcast Cafe. I have online networking groups that I go to. I have my Instagram online community that I engage with and meet tons of people there. And it's incredible the people that I meet virtually that I then meet in person without even knowing it. Someone follows me on Instagram and I'm like, oh, hey. And they're like, hey, I live in Seattle too. Let's meet up. And I had no idea. And so, yeah, community, I think, is the biggest thing to me, especially at this time of my life. Like, I think it will always be, but especially now that, yeah, single, living in a city, like no family here. I think it's beautiful. I love when I meet other people and we just click and can go from there. Or when I introduce people to people, community is just everything to me.
And I feel it's also becoming more and more important as these connectors. Like I have heard somebody say that community or network is the currency of the future. And at first I didn't really understand it, but the more that I think about it, it makes so much sense. And also the vision that I'm holding in many ways is kind of like a network of light. So whether this is, people or, the community or even like the earth herself with these different energy points lighting up, I feel the power of the people is becoming very important in everything that we do. So I love that you are already the embodiment and kind of like living pillar of that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. No, I love it. And yeah, like I said, I used to be shy. So I never thought I would be in a city where when I moved here, I only knew 2 people. I never, ever thought I would have done that. But I did. And I love it. I had a 5-year party for my business in August last year. And I think like 50 people showed up. My mom flew up
Oh,
for
wow.
it and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like you really do. These people you talk about are real. Like they are real." And she's
Yes.
like, she always wants me to move back to Vegas. And I think after she saw like the community I built there, and it wasn't even all the people I knew. Like it was all the people that could make it to my party at a coffee shop at like 5 p.m. on a Friday, right? And she was like, "Oh, you're never coming back, are you?" I'm not gonna say I will never go back to Vegas, but I will say I really have built an incredible community here.
Yeah, that's so cool. What advice would you give to people who have a passion and also want to build a business?
Mm, I would say find the right people to help support you in the journey. It is not easy, and I think it's worth every second, though. The first thing I did when I started my business was hire a mindset coach, and that was huge for me. And investing in myself so early on felt really scary, but it has definitely paid off. And I spend a lot of money on personal development and coaches and continuous learning. And I think that's what gets me to the point where I am. So I would say invest in yourself. If it's something you really want to do, you are definitely worth the money you're going to spend and it will come back. I would also say the community and network that you build is everything from referrals to, just having someone to go to and being like, "Oh my god, my client is being insane. Has this ever happened to you?" Like, things like you need people that get what you're saying. So, I highly encourage, yeah, both personal development and the network, like, actually networking, though. I think it's different to meet people and say like, "Oh, yeah, I know them. We met at whatever event." It's different to go and get coffee with them and build that connection even more.
Mhm.
that's what I'm focusing on this year is I know a lot of people, but I'm trying to get to know them on a deeper level, still professionally, but like in a deeper way. So I think that's my advice to people is if you focus on those two things, you'll win every time.
It's true. And it's a lot about trust, like building trust as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
know.
feel that you are doing really, really well in that. And yeah, please, everybody who feels if you want to start a podcast or you have a podcast and you want some strategic support and advice, Hayleigh is your go-to person.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love working with you and your podcasts. I'm so happy that I get to be on it now. This is so fun. It's like a full circle moment.
Yay! Yes, it is. And, maybe that was not my intention in the first place, but it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful byproduct of like having so many interesting people, meeting so many interesting people and having these different viewpoints and stories and experiences, bringing them together from all over the world. So that's a big learning for my podcast, that although community building wasn't necessarily what I wanted in the first place, like you naturally, organically grow that while having a podcast.
You do. And my first podcast I started was truly to network because I didn't know anyone who had a business and the world was still shut down from the pandemic. And in my head, I was like, well, if I start a podcast, people will talk to me for an hour and I'll trick them into getting to know me. Like, LOL. So it's still going to this day. And it worked. I built a great community from that podcast. So I did it in a little bit of a selfish manner, but obviously podcasting like is very generous with you them being able to promote their business and getting in front of your audience. So it's like a win-win for both.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yes.
Thank you, Hayleigh. That was such a heartfelt conversation. Let us know, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram is the best place, Espresso Podcast Production. Message me. I'm the one that always responds. Like, so please, I would love to get to know you and who's listening. That's the funny thing about podcasting is we all get listens, but like, who is it? Say, right? So I love it when people message me and tell me that they heard me on a podcast. And you can also listen to my own podcast, Employee to Boss, is all about the entrepreneurial journey. And then Podcast Cafe, Insights for Podcasters from Podcasters, is what you were just on, Julia. And that episode is incredible. So I'll be sure to send it to you so you can put it in the show notes. But you can come and listen over there. And yeah, I'd just love to get to know you. We could build community.
Yay, we can build community. Thank you, Hayleigh. Thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. As always, stay curious and try to escape the ordinary, seeking out the extraordinary. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.